It was going to be the perfect weekend, and then the Cubs bullpen took over.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen to or watch us every day. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Cubs take the series from the Padres this weekend. Close win and close loss in games 1 and 3, and a dominant win in the second that we were at, and we will later recap. We'll also later preview a wintry weather Rangers series ahead. Cubs walked 8 more batters on Sunday, including leadoff walks in the 8th and 9th that eventually came around to score, which led to the loss. They did lead 7-3 after 2, 7-5 after 4, and then a 1-run lead with 9 outs to go. So, Sam, we can start with Sunday's game and then work backwards as the Cubs are now 7-5 on the season.
I just, when Ben Brown, who really was poor on Sunday, when he was struggling, I was watching the game at my mom's. I was like, all right, like, fine. Nice regular loss, nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. And then, of course, they were up 4, and I turned to her the second Jackson Merrill hit that home run off Brown and said, I'm not going to hold on to this lead. And they didn't. And, Matt, it's so hard to describe it because you want to balance out the fact that they had a good weekend. They're a 7-5 team. And I'll say this, I don't think this was a game. I'm not going to put this in and I am keeping track of this, and home runs giveth and taketh away by Wrigley this year. So we have some stuff to really discuss this offseason about the previous year. I don't think this was a game the Cubs should have won. I know that in theory, when you're up 4, you should, but it was in like the second inning going into the third. And they walked 8 guys. They made errors. Their offense, let's be honest, in that second inning, the first inning, they got so many breaks from those balks and those weird calls and whatever.
The first inning especially.
Yeah, the first inning. So it isn't a game where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But I also just have the same feeling where, you get a guy like Kyle Tucker. He is being Kyle Tucker. And he has hit 2 critical home runs these last 2 Sundays, and you've given it away. And Zach Zaidman and Jed did an interview this morning. I was listening to it, and like Jed fully acknowledges it. He's like, it's going to take some time, but hopefully it doesn't take as long as last year. Like, why? Why does it have to take so much time? These guys are so unprepared. And I know Justin Turner ended up losing the game with that play, but we don't know for sure the Cubs would have
He missed the catch in the 9th.
Yeah, and a lot of people are giving me heat because I wanted to keep him in the game. But,
should have been a routine 6-4-3. He missed the throw.
Yeah, and like that, to me, that's not like an offense-defense thing. Like, I would have caught that. Like, he just made a really bad play. Like, Justin Turner should catch that ball. But it's not about that, man. Hodge walks the leadoff guy, gives up the thing. Presley walks the 9-hitter, still getting absolutely no whiffs. Caleb Thielbar retires the first 2 guys, gives up another run. And Ben Brown is sitting there as the starter. And I mentioned this and hinted this as last start. I understand his development. I think long-term, Ben Brown could be an excellent starter. But you see games like this and you wonder, why, how much longer until maybe a Wicks or a Facade gets healthy, because we need another weapon down there. And I'll close this by I'd like you to open up by answering me this question. What stood out to me today the most and is the closest thing, I have still my broom up. I was so excited. The closest thing to making me really lose it. What is going on with Colin Ray? Well, this is the game you pay him for. Yeah. It's 7-3. Ben Brown has nothing. He doesn't know where the ball is going. You go Ray, 4, 5, 6, Keller to Hodge to Presley or Merriweather, whoever it is, and you win the baseball game. Well, $5 million to pitch in 11-run games, and don't tell me how good the bullpen it was in Sacramento when almost every outing they were up 8, 9 runs. It doesn't matter. Jed said it himself today. Win the games you're supposed to win. Come in close and figure it out. Why did they give this guy? What's up with him, Matt? What am I missing?
Well, I hope we hear more about that prior to Monday night's
by the way.
contest, or even in the post game now as we're recording, almost 5 p.m. Central, because it truly is a mystery what this brother Colin Ray is dealing with, because we don't even see the guy. We never see him pitch. We never even see him warm up. But one of the games in West Sacramento, like you said, against the A's, and what was a blowout. I mean, a blowout win. You almost could have, thrown a position player to close the game. So we'll see what he's up to. Hopefully not an injury, because they shouldn't roster someone that's not 100%, especially on the pitching side and especially with this bullpen. So I think as the week moves along, I would like to take a look at what Jed Hoyer is alluding to. Oh, hopefully it doesn't take as much time for the bullpen. Well, okay, then I'll start getting my notebook out again and providing possible solutions to reworking said bullpen, because only 12 games in, they walk the ballpark. And they're not stable in the close games. A close win Friday, but with high anxiety. Last Sunday, close loss. This Sunday, close loss. So that's something to be explored.
It's not even close loss.
I think the Ben Brown thing,
blown loss.
Could go to the pen, especially as Assad ramps up. He pitched a few innings this weekend at Sloan. Wicks looks pretty good down there. Horton looks pretty good. So we'll go over some options as the week moves along. It is a hesitation type game, because it was a wild weekend. And even after scoring the 7 runs in the first 2 innings, I did become greedy as a fan. And usually after scoring that many, after 2 frames, it's an unfair question to pose about should they have scored more. And really, they didn't have a lot of opportunities. They only left 5 on base from innings 3 through 9.
It actually wasn't a good offensive game.
Yeah, that's not an unusual total. But I think overall they didn't muster up that much besides the Tucker homer. A lot of freebies, really. And against a dude like who they just got called up from AAA, the Padres did, I could see why we could get greedy in a game like that. But I think it did start, to trail 3-0 and to make the errors they did, including the Turner ball in the 9th. That's a tough one. And it doesn't necessarily take away from the weekend, of course. But it just continues the storyline that is now 3 years in the making at the back end of games. And there shouldn't be like a date where, oh, now we make the roster moves.
Yep.
Or now we move Presley from here to here. Or now we put this person on the Phantom IL, whatever it is. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever moves you want to make, don't wait till after the homestand. Do it Monday when the clubhouse opens at 3 p.m. or whatever it is, because that group needs. You could argue and easily that group needs a shakeup already. Wouldn't you rather see Luke Little instead of Fieldbar? Yes or no?
How about both? You need more lefties. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but Thielbar isn't good.
No, and they signed him.
2.75 M's on New Year's Eve. They signed him.
It's just, after the break, we'll talk about some council stuff, because I think today was a real good, interesting game to talk about. But to me, the lead story of this game and the lead story of this season at 7-5, and this is why I don't like to project records, continues to be very similar to last April. Cubs are playing really good baseball. but they're giving some games away that maybe I think today was a game they were bad, but it still hurts, and it's just I don't understand how many. I must have done 9 solo shows where I said get the bullpen right sooner, and I'll be honest. I want to look dead in. It's worse than it's ever been.
Wow. Worse than it's ever been, but I'll argue next segment why it does feel different from last year. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients also just partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. This huge bag of chocolate protein powder that Just Ingredients just sent me has been huge for my workout routine, and it tastes amazing. Just Ingredients is so good, so many good flavors, and I love that they prioritize wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. That's justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, Sam, where would you like to start this segment as we could talk some managerial strategy from council?
And I hope people realize, I feel like this is deja vu, man. If the Cubs lost this game 11-2, I would be still really cheery. It's these type of losses. I just want to point out a couple decisions in the game that I think are important. And this is not a council game to me. I already mentioned number one. I was fully expecting Colin Ray after 3 innings. I really didn't need that, but whatever. I get it. The big decision in this game, and I was getting blown up on Twitter. Why no Michael Busch for Turner? Why no Michael Busch for Turner? You need Michael Busch for defense. Look, it didn't work out. But the reason why Busch did not come in there once he hit and double switch with Workman is Turner was due up 3rd in the 9th and the game was tied. If the Cubs were winning in that game, you would have seen Busch in there for defense and Workman over at 3rd. But since the game was tied, they preferred Justin Turner's bat in the 9th to potentially having to double switch Gage Workman in there. For me, and hindsight's 2020, but I felt this way when it happened. I didn't like the pinch hit situation to begin with Busch. To me, you need a base hit there. Shaw's a good contact guy. If you want to pinch hit, go with Birdie. You're looking for a single there. That's what you're looking for. And I didn't like Busch. I thought that was a very unprofessional plate appearance from him. But the story of this game to me, and we can move on to why you think it's different now, because I think I have an idea why, and I agree with you. Is that the Padres have a great bullpen.
Yeah.
The Cubs don't, and that was the story on Sunday. But here's what will keep me up an extra 46 minutes tonight. 2/3 of that great Padres bullpen was in your organization. Wow. And you don't know how to develop them. You don't know how to get the right things out of him. Don't think for 1 second if Palencia were to go to Tampa, he wouldn't be firing on all cylinders. And if Jed Hoyer does leave or gets dismissed from his role, the black mark on his tenure here will always be to me, why couldn't these guys figure out a way to develop young bullpen arms to be good consistently? Because Jeremiah Estrada's good. Jason Adams, really good. And then the 9th inning, Mr. Presley, Mr. Hoyer, Tom, that's what a closer looks like. 3, 4, 5. Hey! Huh.
Well, none of us were excited about Presley. Do we need to be reminded about that? I think it was like the 6th or 7th name on our lists, if that. So, is the key word there consistently? Because they have developed some guys.
Not enough.
Okay.
Or they wouldn't be in this spot. You wouldn't be if you developed enough guys, you wouldn't have to go get Presley and Theobar, Matthew.
Right. right, who are combined age of like almost 80 years young. I mean, not to be ageist, but I think that was towards the top of the story when they were written in December and February
I
when
don't
they
care
made the
how old
deals.
I don't care how old they are. They're not good at getting people out. That's what I care about.
It is a shame that has to over. I'm going to mess up the phrase.
It's been a long weekend, man.
It is a shame that has to take precedence over Imanaga's 7 1/3, Boyd's 6, Kyle Tucker's majestic weekend, Nico Horner's majestic weekend, and Ian Happ had a solid weekend too, including the incredible catch on Saturday in his 1,000th game. So I did want to mention that Boyd's up to 11 scoreless. I guess why I think it's different to start the year. I'm talking about this pocket of games, right? Just the start of the year. The defense and base running last year at this time were awful. They're one of the best in baseball, those two things. I think their starting rotation is actually a little bit better right now than last year at this time, especially if they have four guys instead of three.
Because Steele was hurt.
And Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, that's the big one. Yeah.
I have a different feeling right now. Now, with that being said, again, don't wait till Memorial Day. You know, see Ethan Roberts this week. We should see Luke Little this week. Why not? They're on the 40, man.
Matt, I agree with what
Pearson has an option. And if you need to cut bait on a field bar or a Presley, because these guys keep walking the ballpark, you do it. There is no margin this year. Make the moves.
I agree with what you said about Tucker. That's what feels different. I just don't see this lineup being that bad for 2 straight months. So that's good. And this will be the last thing I say, and we could talk about some good stuff from the weekend. I'm beginning to feel disrespected, and not as a podcaster, as a fan, by Tom and Jed with the Presley thing. I'm starting to be I'm starting to feel like my intelligence and our intelligence as a fan base is being disrespected by him continuing to pitch and leverage. When I watch Brad Keller and I watch Julian Merriweather, those two guys plus Porter Hodge, I'm starting to, and I'll come on here and tell you if he turns it around that I was wrong. His lack of command, his lack of whiffs, I am starting to feel disrespected. Okay, you don't want to spend a lot of money. I can't tell you what to do. Does that bother me? Of course it does. But when you combine spending like a mid-market team and then running out a guy and trying to convince us fans who've been watching the game a long time that this is the best option for the 9th inning, while you go trade for Kyle Tucker and are trying to tell us that this matters, I'm beginning to feel disrespected. This game wasn't on Ryan Presley. I'll be the first one to say it. And thankfully, he got the job done Friday. But I know baseball, okay? You know baseball. Our listeners know baseball. It's becoming disrespectful.
And from a baseball perspective, you would say, even despite the Turner missed catch, that this game was on the bullpen, though, as a whole, right?
I would say, yeah, it's just like it was on the bullpen. I mean, Brown was bad. The offense did nothing, and they got a bunch of gift runs in the first. Defense was bad. But to me, it just maybe not on the bullpen, but it just emphasized once it was 7-5, I knew it just wasn't good enough. Like, Presley and Hodge can't be walking the leadoff guys, and Thielbar gave up a run. So what did their bullpen do today? What was it? 3 runs in they threw 4 innings, 5 innings? I think they threw 5. So 5 innings, 3 runs. I mean, and 2 of the 3 runs came from your 8-9 guys. Was it, I think this game could be spread out among a lot of things. I don't think we have to emphasize one thing, but I just think that the bullpen is what we know is the problem with this team. And today I just thought it was emphasized.
Coming up next, we're going to go over our experience from the weekend. We were at Saturday's game. We hosted a meetup, and then we're also going to preview Cubs and Rangers. Stay tuned for that.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. And as the Chicago Cubs get ready to host the San Diego Padres April 4th, 5th, and 6th, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. I love that I can preview my exact seat before purchasing. No bad surprises when I get to the stadium. You guys know how Wrigley is, Section 200s. Make sure you preview your seat so you don't have one of those seats right behind a pillar. There's nothing worse. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
We finish up today on a out of the weekend episode, whether you're listening here on Sunday evening, Monday morning. Thank you so much for listening. And we hosted a meetup at Almost Home on Clark and Grace in Wrigleyville on Saturday before going to the game. Great seats in the 300 level. Want to give public thanks to my father-in-law, Steve, uncle-in-law, Craig, who is a diehard Cubs fan, just for the great seats there. And Sam, we have a lawyer listener base, and to do these meetups now, a couple live shows last winter, great reception at Cubs convention. It's a very cool feeling.
100%. 100%. It was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. Friday was fun to watch. Saturday was great to be there. It was great to meet everybody. And ball game was fun with you. And, I hope we get a chance to do more of those. And
yeah,
it's definitely the best part of what we do.
Well, we'll definitely do a meetup when they make the Final Four in October. So I wrote down some shout outs here. I wrote down all the people that I met in my notes app. First of all, Camden and his grandparents, Diana and John, came all the way from Cedar Rapids again. John and Diana have season tickets, about 20 games a year. Mike and Tyler from Missouri, Nick, Bree, and Zach. Nick and Bree from Crystal Lake, Rick, Ryan, and Lucy, Gene, Danny, and Blake. It's Danny Rocket. Shout out to San Ranto Show. Pat, Tristan, Nolan, and Lily. Nolan, who calls his dad after each show. Mike in Omaha, Adam, and then I believe it was Julie and Andrew in the Jewel checkout line on Southport. And I didn't. I turned the switch off at that point, so I'm not 100% sure on those names, but I'm like 50%. So hopefully I got those right. Hopefully they're listening. All right, Cubs Rangers, Sam.
Hey, Matt, yeah. let me just do one quick thing before we go to Cubs Rangers. I have one thing that I forgot to mention about the game. It was bottom 8. Nico Horner got on I believe an infield hit that was bobbled by Xander Bogaerts, but was a hit. Try to barehand it. That was a poorly executed situation there by the Cubs PCA and Craig. I understand that PCA right now is really scuffling. He was swinging the bat fine. Results weren't there, and now he's got himself in a funk. That should not be a first pitch sack there, bunt. It should not be, because I'll tell you exactly why. Nico Horner could steal that base on his own. If Pete puts the ball in play early, the odds are, even if he hits it on the ground, you're not going to double him off. Let's wait a bit if that's what we're going to do there. And I just wanted to point that out. That wasn't that time. With Pete's speed, you don't want him just doing a sack bunt. It's like, you know what I'm trying to say? It just, yeah. And JD mentioned it right away, so credit to him.
Tough to give up an out like that immediately.
Yeah, immediately like that. And then you have Bush. It was Bush and Kelly after that. Like, PCA needs to be a better hitter, needs to have more confidence in himself and be better, to where you can go, hey, I want you to take a hack or two here first. Let's see if Nico can get this base for you, and then go from there. I just wanted to mention that.
All right, first 2 night games at Wrigley in a long time, over 6 months. Monday and Tuesday, 6:40, getaway day, Wednesday, 1:20. Might be interrupted by winter weather that we'll get to later in this segment. So Steele, Eovaldi, Tyone Corbin, Imanaga, Malley, or is it Maley? Some notes on these guys. Eovaldi pitched a complete game shutout last week. A Maddox, 9 innings, no runs, less than 100 pitches.
Was he available?
He was a free agent this offseason.
Yeah.
Patrick Corbin is making his first start of the year. That's in that second game. And Imanaga is making his first start on 5 days rest. So I just wanted to note that. Rangers are 8-2. So the tough schedule continues. Their offense has been paltry, but they've received excellent starting pitching and pretty solid relief pitching, including righty Chris Martin, who's almost 39 years old, hasn't given up a run yet this year out of the pen. He was a free agent this year as well. The Cubs had him also before. So the real feel on Monday night, and give me your impressions also, Sam, of the series, the baseball, but real feel Monday night is supposed to be 23 at first pitch, Michael Jordan.
Is that too cold to play?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And if they postpone one, will they just go doubleheader Wednesday?
Tuesday, because Wednesday is rain chances. And Tuesday, 1:20 in the sun, despite the cold, that would be definitely a game to get in.
Okay.
But Tuesday night would be under threat as well because of cold.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they're at least going to play at like 1:20 or maybe even earlier on Tuesday.
So you're
outside of that, very questionable.
You're feeling a postponement Monday night.
Well, that's what Alex Hall of Cubs Weather at Cubs Weather on X told us. I messaged him earlier in the day. So,
I think I'm good with that. As far as the series goes, Rangers are 8-2, really similar to the Padres coming in here. Going to be real cold. Advantage Cubs. I think the Cubs will win this series. I feel very strongly about that, just like I felt pretty strongly they'd win this one.
Well, if they win the series, they're going to be 9-6 going back out west. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. But, it's going to be really tough to score. So, you're going to need your guys, need PCA to start figuring it out and hitting the ball better. You need Shaw, and these guys could be, if you thought this weekend, and then the Cubs continue to have that bad luck with the weather, because it'll be much better this weekend, this upcoming weekend, next weekend, really, because, and they'll be out of town for a while. So that trip's going to be really tough next week. So it's really, really imperative that they find a way to win a couple of these games. And hopefully, if they win 2 out of 3, the game they lose could just be a normal game, because I don't think
right.
We've been on after a show. What has it been? I'm not counting the Japan series. So
I hope you don't.
We haven't done a show yet after
a normal losses though.
Exactly. That was my point. We haven't done a show yet post Japan after a regular defeat, which is just like, hey, get them next time, But it'll be all right, man.
Right, because the one they had was on a Friday.
Exactly.
Oh.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It's just these ones, you guys know me. These ones, it could be April. It doesn't matter what it is. These ones just, they sting. And they happen to everybody. But boy, does it feel like it happens to us quite frequently, doesn't it?
How about this line from the weekend? Boy, is this guy series to series, as we were talking about in our chairs in the 300 level on Saturday.
I don't think Seiya Suzuki got a base hit.
Seiya was 0 for 9, but with 5 walks. Just so weird.
Yeah, well, his at bat in the 9th inning it just
took strike 3, middle. Long. We're here 5 episodes per week, Monday through Friday, talking about all things Cubs. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. He's Sam Olver. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See ya.